bones. Kill the king upon his throne. I'm ready for their stones. I'll dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head, head, head. Like Jesus said, I'm gonna dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head. Dance together, forgive him before he's dead. Because I won't cry for you, I won't crucify the things you do. I won't cry for you, see, when you're gone I'll still be bloody Mary. I'll dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head. Like Jesus said, I'm gonna dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands above my head. Dance together, forgive him before he's dead. Because we are not fight like you're in love. We are not very good, but we're accepted. With my hands, hands, hands down together, forgive him before he's dead. Because I won't cry for you, I won't crucify the things you do. I won't cry for you, see, when you're gone I'll still be bloody Mary. I'll dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head. Like Jesus said, I'm gonna dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands above my head. Dance together, forgive him before he's dead. I'll dance,
We'll get started here in a second. Please enjoy this excerpt from my set last weekend at this Halloween party. You have to enjoy it now because it's going to demonetize the stream. It's okay. It lets you clip out the song and keep all the other audio. It's crazy. The weather's emailed it to me. That worked. I think I got 4 submissions. So, oh yeah, Wi-Fi information is here. Get started. Part of the class, by the way, because to be a good music writer, you have to be a good music Listen to the drop. In my culture, this is considered good music. Alright. And you know, y'all know the rest, yada yada yada. Classic fade out. Alright. So, welcome everyone to EDM 101 session 2. Yesterday, great to see some new faces here. On Monday, we mostly played around with loops and warping and kind of getting oriented with the complicated Ableton interface. So hopefully we're feeling a little bit more secure in that. And y'all's homework was to kind of play around with some of those techniques we showed and you know, make your own first tracks with some of those loops. What did people find difficult about it? What did people find enjoyable? Any initial reflections on what that process was like from anyone?
Getting things to be in the same key was a little bit tricky, not having a music theory background. And I checked it even with like ChatGPT, and I'm still not sure I quite got it right. So.
Gotcha. Okay, so getting some of the keys of the loops to play nicely together. I did show one technique where I asked like, I have a loop in F sharp minor and one in A minor. How many half steps apart is that? So here's one way that should work. So
half steps is just then +1, and then a whole step would be like +2.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So on the transposition field in the warping tool, 1 is a half step, and 12 would be a whole octave. What's up, Anish?
One thing that confused me about this is like, so when I got like some of like the melody tracks, like it was hard because like the thing downstairs, like the bass stuff was like playing a different chord, so sometimes things would sound a bit weird. So even though the key match, it sometimes didn't like sound good, like just because the chords didn't line up or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
There are like chord progressions that people stick to that you can plug and use.
Yeah, so the comment here was about how sometimes the melody and the bass, even if they're in the same key, they don't necessarily play well together because maybe the bass implies one chord progression, the melody implies another, and so that is one consideration you have to think about. Like sometimes you can play the same melody over different chord progressions. That's called reharmonization, and we'll have an exercise on that in a few sessions from now. A lot of jazz artists will reharmonize a popular melody to have totally different chords underneath, and it sounds like completely by changing the context that the melody is in, it completely changes the feel of it. Sometimes with loops you can chop, if it's like a series of chords, let's say, you could chop them up and rearrange them to fit the melody better. A little difficult to do without a music theory background, but you can always use your ears to think about like how it sounds and kind of home in on a sound. But yeah, let's see. Let me make sure the ads stop. I monetize my channel, so I don't know how to turn off ads on streams. I'm not even sure if it's possible, but in any case, so if you have the MIDI for melodies, then you can change them to fit the chord progressions. But that is something to consider. What's up, Kia?
Yeah, I do have previous experience producing, but I like blending genres.
Sure.
And sometimes that leaves the project too open-ended where I just can't finish it.
Okay.
So I like that I'm limited to loops as opposed to plugging in instruments and vocals as well.
Yeah.
I thought it made things more fun because I felt the house to decorate inside,
Okay. Nice. Yeah, sometimes having limitations can get you to actually finish a track.
Yeah.
And as the saying goes, real artists ship. And loops are nice too because you can kind of get a vibe, a feeling cooking quickly, and that can be very inspiring, even if later you completely remove everything you added initially. But it can be enough to solve the blank slate problem and get you up and running. Any other reflections on the homework before we listen to some of people's submissions? If there's anyone who submitted something and they don't want me to play it, tell me now. All right, hopefully this comes across on live stream. Sometimes I have issues with the drivers. If you spend enough time in the computer music world, you'll encounter driver issues. But let's hear what Akio made. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't turn back up after doing my classy fade out. All right. Okay, let's try again. Yeah, really great arrangement there with like intro chords to kind of set the mood, and then bringing in the liquid D&B drum track. You watch those videos on YouTube where it's like PS1, PlayStation 1 visuals. Yeah. Best music to listen to while you're studying or working, IMO. Were these all loops that you had in your library, or did you get them from Splice?
Some of them, yeah. That was just a pad.
Okay.
And I just cut it up, and I repeated it, and I just changed the pitch of it, hoping that it would fit like music theory consistent scale.
Sure.
But because they're usually like ninth chords, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to figure out what note it is. So I was just guessing. Honestly.
Gotcha. Yeah. When your loops have thirds or ninths or other notes other than just like the root, maybe the fifth, then when you transpose it, it's likely to push it out of key, except in some circumstances. But that can also work. Yeah. There's a lot of house tracks where you have like a synth pad that is a major third or a minor third, and they just kind of use that as a lead, and it works, even though Mozart would probably cringe if he heard it, but he's dead and we're not, so we get to make the rules. Cool. Yeah, very nice. And well mixed, too. All right, let's hear what Pyle's got cooking up. Nice, very good. Got at least two different songs in there, two different song ideas that we could run with, but yeah, sounds like everything lined up nicely. And I liked, you had these moments where you like stopped the drums like at the end of a phrase and then brought it back. That's a really really effective technique that you can use, all over the place to give a sense of like turning around and keeping the listener's interest. One very minor note, usually you wouldn't put a clap like on the downbeat of a measure. Like there were some in here where like you have a clap on the like 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not saying don't do it, but you usually wouldn't put it there. You'd usually put maybe more like a crash cymbal if you want some emphasis. So you could play around with that next time. But and I like too how at the very end you took all the like the kick drums and stuff out and just had the clap kind of take us out. That was really effective. So yeah, which of those two song ideas did you like better?
Oh, I like the first one a lot better.
Yeah.
I think with the second one, I was just trying to like rearrange. I think I sent you an email because I was just trying to like literally put the key that I wanted it to be in, and like arcade that into Ableton, and for some reason it just like wasn't shifting it. So I just like really quickly used my ear and was like, okay, this was good enough, and like went along with it. But like I think if I spent a little bit more time, I would like pivot that a little bit more. I did like the second layer that I added to like that second phrase, but the first one, like the beginning, was like definitely like I think stronger and a lot more fun for me to pull together.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I mean, you can always fall back to using your ears with music. That's the nice thing about it. Yeah, I'm looking at your hard coding the keys and the BPMs.
Yeah, like I was making the BPMs go faster, and it was like or like increasing the BPM, but like the thing was like slowing down. So I was just like that felt like very counterintuitive to me.
You were probably increasing the BPM on the clip, right?
I was, yeah.
Okay, so when you do that, you're telling Ableton the original BPM of this clip was higher. So now my project tempo is slower, so Ableton needs to bring down the speed of the clip. So if you do it the opposite way, it'll make it sound faster. Yeah, something to keep in mind. I saw a comment in the Discord. Let's see. Event Horizon says, I struggled with the difference between the BPM timing of the overall project and what happens when you're warping a certain loop that you bring in at a different BPM. Okay. Yeah, I think that maybe also kind of touches on your comment just now, Pyle. It's tough too when you find a loop that doesn't have the BPM in it, and then you kind of have to like. Did you encounter that?
Yeah, I was trying to bring in some like melody, but then I wasn't sure what the BPM was from the stem, and I was trying to like jiggle it, but it's pretty tough to get it to line up.
Sometimes if you don't know, you can just kind of adjust the clip's BPM until it looks like it's at the right length. You can also use like BPM tapper, like go on some website and, well, actually Ableton has a tap tempo button in the upper left-hand corner that you can always use. But like if I was trying to figure out the tempo of a melody, I might go, dun 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 dun, something like that.
Google metronom, like it'll give you a slider.
That works too. Yeah, it tends to be a little harder with like stuff that isn't drums, but you can always use your ears. All right, let's listen to Tyler's track. All right, here we go. Was that?
Weird.
Did you export it?
I must have exported
correctly?
it the wrong way. I could just play from my laptop.
Oh,
That's so true. I exported just a single sound.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, let's listen to some others. That's you? All right, here we go. Nasty. Woo!
I wish that I could be like the cool kid.
I had autoplays. Nice. I definitely felt like I could hear that at Burgine or something. Yeah, I really loved how you started off real low, like real in the background, dark ambient, and then you gradually brought in more elements. Were there some like loops in the sample pack, or sorry, the build-ups? Like, were those in the sample pack?
Yeah, so actually, I chopped out the clapping at the beginning. I really clipped the initial part to get the short light. And then after that, I used a full clap to get the full sound. And then I was having it because like when you DJ, you have to loop, and it becomes the bzzz.
Yeah.
I'm not very happy with like the bzzz. Like I want it to be more like reverby, but I'm not sure how to do that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk more about effect automation at some point. So you could start bringing in a reverb to make it like, kind of fill out the space a bit. But that's a good technique too. Of like, you take a small slice of a sample to, later give yourself some room to grow and add more intensity and energy. And a lot of what making a track danceable is creating a kind of progression. So there's lots of ways to like, you know, hold back your energy initially and then gradually add in more over time, and that creates this sense of like, yeah, progression. Even though the track is generally, you know, repetitive and dancey, it still feels like it's going somewhere, and that's a good technique to accomplish that. Cool. And yeah, that was a nice bass line too at the end. It really sounded like chaotic but still all glued together. Very fun. All right, cool. Got an update from Tyler. Let's see who's DMing me here. Oh, pending. Oh, yes. Cool. All right, let's listen to Tyler's update. Nailed it. Yeah, that the kick roll at the beginning to get our attention, it was really effective.
You had you ever did a song like Killers in the Jungle?
I wasn't even thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, real nice. You know, starting off with just drums and then bringing in the sort of like vocal arp idea to add some energy, having a nice build up, and then dropping into the full, you know, bass chaos. Good arrangement instincts there. I was really hoping to hear like a really juicy 808 when the drop hits. I think that would have filled out your sound a bit. A lot of these kind of like dubstep wobbly type sounds, they're like in and out fast, and they don't necessarily have like a consistent low sub to kind of keep it glued together. So that's one thing. Like often you'll have like a mid bass that does the wobble, and then you'll have an 808 underneath that holds down the sub area, so people are still feeling it. And then you can strategically pull out the sub at key moments to like make people want it again and create that sense of anticipation. But yeah, nice arrangement instincts and throwing in those one shots that go wow. And then nice dramatic transposition at the end, kind of like applying some pop sensibilities to dubstep.
One question I had is,
yeah, what's up?
Let's say you want to do those like one-off style things. How do you organize that in the Ableton View? Because I've been creating a whole separate track just for those one things.
Mm-hmm.
Because I might want to mess with them in ways that I wouldn't mess with the original track.
Yeah.
So yeah, how do you organize?
Yeah, you could do one track per one shot. If you have one of the versions of Ableton that gives you, unlimited tracks, you can do it that way. And then maybe you might group all of your one shots, and then you can collapse them so they don't take up so much vertical space in your IDE, in your DAW. You could also put them all on one track. Like if you have one of the more limited versions, you could just, and that can help to keep you from having too many sounds playing at once, because a lot of let's say amateur tracks, they just throw everything in the kitchen sink into the track and it starts to sound muddy. But really, like, advanced tracks give everything lots of space, and you have like kind of one thing playing at a time. You don't have the sounds step on each other too much. So if you have them all on a single track, you guarantee that won't happen. So that's an idea. But nice work. Okay, next up we got Storm. Hope maybe he's on the live stream. Oh, let's see. Getting a live does not. Oh. Oh yeah. To answer your question, Corey, if you go in the audio settings for Ableton, the preferences, you should be able to change the sample rate from 24K to like 44.1 or 44,000. I'll show it once we've listened to the rest of the tracks here. Let's see anything in the Discord. Trying to stay on top. By the way, our Corey and Event Horizon, are y'all actually like talking to each other in the voice chat in Discord? Michael asks, can you summarize where people are getting sounds from? So I assume most folks are using those sample packs that I uploaded from Cymatics, or maybe they downloaded additional sample packs. I know Kyo said that he had some in his library already. Let me pause the ads again, make sure. Let's see. Earlier, I linked a bunch of, okay, not the slides, but yeah. Yeah, this is like, here's like half a dozen sample packs from Cymatics, and then you can download more from their website. Chit chat. Oh yeah. To answer Event Horizon, you must have been listening to the DJ set from before. That was a remix of X Files. Yeah, I was trying to find spooky tracks for my DJ set, so yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, let me add the roll. Okay. And yeah, sometimes I think pretty much the only one using this Discord is me, so I assume everyone who comes in here is an EDM student, but cool. All right, let's listen to Storm's mix. Nice. I won't play the whole 13 minutes. Let me just zip around a little bit. Cool. All right. Sounds like it's pretty much the same idea. But as you can see, computers are really good at creating copies of stuff. And 13 minutes of music with a flick of the wrist, what's not to love? But yeah, good initial idea here. You know, doing an arpeggio plus a drum beat to start off a track is a time-honored tradition of kind of like, yeah, setting up some context to work with. Think we some of the rhythmic ideas were a little off from each other, so maybe we can diagnose that and see what's going on there. I also I noticed you threw in an 808 there, and it did clash a little bit with the kick drum, but we'll talk about how to set up side chaining today. So we'll get rid of that problem forever, and then our kick and 808 can play nicely with each other going forward. But good track there. Is anyone on this? All right, that did not work for you, Corey? Okay. All right, let's listen to J Energy's track here. Here we go. Yes, bro did try, and it is all that matters. Yeah, great start. Always a nice move to start up a track, without the kick or without too much bass, so you can like emphatically drop that in at a key moment to keep the energy moving forward. Regarding like melodies over different chords, this is an example where he had the like marimba riff, which was kind of like this repeated figure, but he kept changing the bass line underneath, and that actually worked out well in this case because of how the melody was constructed relative to the bass line. If there was another little ARP figure that came in, and I got confused because I thought I had started playing some other song in a different tab.
You tried to pause it downstairs.
Yeah, you saw. So we might have needed to just adjust the transposition of that other loop that came in. But yeah, and I could really feel like, oh, this would be a perfect part where a build-up could start and like, come in with some really dramatic melody or like, wobbly bass line or something. And also, kind of good arrangement instincts to, pull back in this middle section before bringing the energy back with the main marimba theme. Not sure entirely how well the sounds in that middle section work together, but at least you pulled back the energy and then gave us somewhere to go back to, so create a bit of a flow there. So nice work, J Energy. All right, and then and we already listened to Tyler's, so all good. All right, so thank you to everyone who submitted tracks. That was a lot of fun, and always great to be able to listen to our tracks on big speakers and really feel the bass, because that's like a perennial issue. Like if you're mixing on headphones, you often will end up turning the bass up too high just to be able to hear it. That's where reference tracks come in. So, all right, let's get into the content for today. So, load up Ableton here. So, thus far we've pretty much just talked about audio. So today we'll make our first foray into MIDI, and we'll talk about like how to program our own drum and bass patterns and kind of arrange them to create a sense of flow. I think we should have time to do like a house kind of drop, or maybe like a mid-tempo drop and a more trap-oriented drop. But I'll show you some techniques for how to create that ebb and flow, create that sense of progression over time. So, but first I wanted to check in on this sample rate thing that Corey was dealing with. Looks like you got it working. But in any case, up here you can change, or in your settings you can change the sample rate. 44.1 is generally what you want. If you're producing like cinema quality audio, maybe you want to go up to 192 kilohertz. But people are going to be listening to your tracks on phones a lot of the time, or they'll be rendered as MP3s, so you're going to lose some quality there anyway. So doesn't make a whole lot of sense to work at 192 kilohertz or even 96, because that's just more data that your computer has to process. So 44.1's good though. But okay, let me clear up my tracks here. So we're going to start by creating a new MIDI track this time. So Control-Shift-T, or you can right-click in here and say Insert MIDI track. And also last time we used a lot of like loops. So now we're going to use what are called one-shot samples. It's basically like a single sound that is played once, hence the name one shot. It's like one kick drum sample rather than like a loop of 4. So an easy way you can and so the difference here is, instead of like let's just bring up some kick sound from our cymatics packs. We'll pick like that's a good one. So if we're doing this with audio, and maybe I'll set the tempo to 128. That's like a classic electro house sort of tempo. If we take our one-shot sample and we drag it in here, you can see that it creates a new audio track. And if we zoom in by holding Control and moving our mouse wheel forward, we can see the audio sample there.
Adding MIDI track just adds the MIDI to the right side of the current track, like a MIDI bar. For me.
Right. So if you click Insert MIDI track, it doesn't insert a new. Wait.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to drag it out to here.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Okay. So we could build our beat up by dragging in these audio samples, and if I want to make a 4 on the floor beat, I would want to put 4 of these in a single measure. You can see that Ableton kind of keeps track of the measure number for you, and since we're in 4/4 time, this first number after the decimal point is which of those 4 beats are in your measure. But we can take our sample, duplicate it, slide it over so that it snaps onto the beat, and then do it one more time, and then do it one more time. So now we can get this 4 on the floor beat in audio. Great. And by the way, you can adjust the division of the grid by right-clicking on this 1/16 here in the right-hand corner and changing it to 1/4. So now we can see, all right, we've got 4 beats in our measure here. But also, if you have the adaptive grid turned on, then as you zoom in and out, it'll give you more and more subdivisions of your grid. So we could do that. But another option is we can use MIDI. So we've got 4 copies of the sample here. We could join them together and mess with them, but it can be a lot of work. And then we also can't easily swap out what sample we want to use here. So maybe we want to use something other than this particular kick sample. So what we can do instead is we can use MIDI notes to trigger these samples. So if I take my one-shot sample, you notice I can't, if I drag it into the MIDI channel, it's going to try to, do some processing to analyze your audio. That's not what we want. We want to drag it down here where it says drop instrument here. And to do that, you have to have the MIDI track selected, right? So not the audio track, but you have the MIDI track selected. Drag in the kick there.
I'm not seeing that open up. See, you have MIDI selected.
Let's see. Okay, drop instrument sample here.
Oh, sorry. What is it?
There you go. Yeah, my MIDI tracks by default have an EQ and a utility on them.
Got it.
When you add it, be connected as close to the other one as possible.
Oh, well, you're fine here. You just want it to start on the beat.
Okay.
So, this is just silence. So that's fine. If if your tempo were higher, then maybe you want to come up here and trim to meet like that. But here, as long as it's starting on the beat, you're good. Okay, so with our MIDI track, we drag our sample down there. So now we get this virtual instrument called a sampler. It's a very basic sample playback synth. We can, let's see, just checking the Discord. Okay, we can play samples in here using our laptop keyboard. If we click this button up here to arm the track for recording, it turns it red. So now that means this MIDI track is receiving information from our keyboard. And then we also turn on this little piano icon here. Up here.
I don't think your cursor's.
Oh, sorry. Cursor's up here. in the upper right corner, there should be a little piano-shaped icon. You can toggle that by pressing the letter M also, by the way. So if you have that enabled, now you can press like the ASDF, the home row of your keyboard, and you can play the sample back at different pitches. You can also, like, the W and E keys are black keys, same with T, Y, U. So it kind of looks like, you know, the letter A on your keyboard is the C note, the letter W is the C sharp, then S is D, and then E is this D sharp note. So your laptop keyboard is kind of laid out like the piano keys. What's up?
It's getting very strange. Like I'm playing the same thing as you,
Yeah.
but it's sounding like extremely distorted.
Oh yeah. This is like something that happens with Ableton sometimes. Let's see. You may have to restart Ableton, to be honest. Okay, there we go. Okay, so.
It doesn't look like I'm able to run it.
Right, so you need to select a MIDI track. So like double click that. I think you had an audio track selected, or maybe you had no track selected, but you need to make sure you have a MIDI track selected.
So
Now you can click and drag that
did
in
that,
here.
and then
No, you don't need to drag it in here first. You just drag it straight from here into the. No, okay, so now we need to make sure our MIDI track is selected. Get MIDI track going here. Okay, now if we just drag it in like that.
oh, okay. So you can't click anywhere. Okay, got it.
Yeah, cool. All right. So now we can play these samples. If you play it at different pitches, you'll hear that it goes, you know, higher and lower. The Z and X keys will move you down and up octaves respectively. So but just one thing to remember is that the note C3 is will play back the sample at its original pitch. So C3. So let's see. So the number is like what octave you're in, and then the letter is the note. So if I say C3, I'm referring to this specific note. C1 would be this C note 2 octaves lower. You know, C8 is a really high-pitched note. This will be more obvious when I make a MIDI clip to trigger it. All right, so you know, we can't possibly play every instrument at the same time. We need Ableton to help us play back some of our instruments here. So, you know, similar to how we have audio clips in like the audio track, we can have MIDI clips in MIDI tracks. So let's select, you know, from 5 to 6 here. So we have one measure here, and we press. You can right-click and say. No, we can't right-click and say Insert MIDI clip. I guess we have to use the keyboard, and we say Control-Shift-M to insert a new MIDI clip. So, you know, select a measure, then Control-Shift-M, and that inserts a new MIDI clip that you can, you know, move around as needed. Why can't we insert a new MIDI clip otherwise? Oh, we can. Okay. So you could also, you know, select this and then click Insert Empty MIDI clip here, and that'll do it as well. So now we have this different sort of view down here. You know, with the audio view, we could see like the audio waveform and we could warp it and stuff. But here we have what's called the piano roll. And this is based on old player pianos that had literally a roll of paper with a bunch of punched out, let's let's see, player piano roll, with a bunch of punched out spaces where that would tell the piano what notes to play and when. So, you know, and it was vertical. In our version, it's horizontal. So it also kind of looks like a step sequencer. You know, it's got this sort of grid-like layout. A lot of famous drum machines like the Akai MPC have that sort of layout. Well, this is more like drum pads, but maybe if we look at, I'm sure Akai made a sequencer at some point. Yeah, more like this. Any case, all right, so now we can insert MIDI notes that will trigger our sample the way we want it to. So, and you remember I said C3 will play back the sample at its original pitch. So we want to insert 4 of these to make a 4 on the floor beat. If you press the B key, you toggle between the selection and the pencil tool. Or you can click, let's see, where is the, All right, well, if you press B, you toggle between the selection tool and the pencil icon. And if you have the pencil icon selected, you can add individual notes here. So I'm going to add a C3 here, and then I'll add another one here, and then I'll add another one here, and then I'll add another one here.
How do you,
Go ahead.
I just want to be looping through this specific section of MIDI.
Yeah.
Can you just remind me how to do that?
Yeah, if you want to just loop this clip, you can select it and then press Control L, and then that'll loop it. And by the way, since we just need quarter notes here, we can change our piano roll grid also to 1/4. That'll make it a little easier, maybe to see where exactly to put the notes in. Doot.
My piano grid, I'm getting 1 and then 1.1.2 and 1.1.3. How do I shrink that down to this just X? I'm trying to collapse things.
Oh yeah, well your MIDI clip is only 1/4 note long, so we need to go all the way from 1 to 2.
And then one more thing.
Yep.
So we went from MIDI. Somehow we went to the piano view, which I forget how we did, but I think we selected the section and then we did something like.
Yeah, insert empty MIDI clip.
Yeah. Okay, and so we did that. The question I have is like I don't currently have like notes applied to these to this piano. Like when you have to specify, or we specify
Oh, you don't have a sample?
yeah, I don't have a sample. So
Click on your MIDI track and then drag the sample. I was just going to go because we want a MIDI clip that's 4 beats long. Yours is only 1 beat long.
oh, okay, so I feel like
Yes, that is going to duplicate the clip several times. So I would just delete that and then select 4 and then Control Shift.
Yeah, I don't know how you get to because mine's like 116.
right, so we don't click on the MIDI clip in order to
Change the sample, change the instrument, add new effects.
and then to go back.
It is
So
still listing, like you
we
see
could
mine
draw
is
this-
changing.
yeah.
So I'm not sure
I guess my question was
no, I should
let's just do like 1, 2 notes and then I'll just like
Which you normally wouldn't want to do for drums unless you're trying to get some crazy effect. But
I'm not hearing anything, but I have my audio. I have it on solo.
yeah, it's definitely outputting audio.
it's just maybe just like mapping of like electric notes, which notes.
So there's like information about the velocity, which is like intensity, and the pitch,
Drop the solo.
and it sounds or something digital.
Not
Maybe
hearing
like
anything.
things.
Oh,
And
I
usually
yeah, now I
something
do. For some
digital.
reason the solo was not
Right.
sending
But
me.
if you just
Okay,
just-
it's
we're just
It's like an
mapping.
information of like what to play. Like
Great.
imagine like
Hold on a second.
What's up?
My scale doesn't change.
You probably have it on fixed grid, so 2-finger click on here, and then use the adaptive grid will get it to change as you zoom in and out.
Okay.
Narrowest or well, you're way zoomed out, so we want to get to like a single measure. So
What's the definition of
a measure is, so you see how we have this 4/4 time signature here?
Yeah.
A measure is how do I describe
a
this?
series of beats?
Yeah, in this case it will be 4 beats.
Yeah.
One bundle of 4 beats.
Right.
And it's kind of like a base unit of how you organize time.
Okay.
4/4 means there's 4 beats in a measure, and a quarter note is worth 1 beat.
Right.
So,
Like it's how much time passes between one like breath. Like 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Let me see if I can find a better definition of a measure. But it's basically like it's basically like a unit of time in
Right.
measure in music. What is it? A segment of music bounded by vertical lines. Okay, that's duh. A segment of time that holds a specific number of beats. Okay, in this case 4. Okay. All right, Corey says, my MIDI notes are hella wide regardless of the number in the upper right corner for some reason. Can you post a screenshot in the Discord, Corey? I think that would, then I can kind of see what you're talking about.
Is this new in 12? My thing says like 1/16.
I mean, that's right.
Oh wait, what do you do there?
I mean, mine says this 1/4 here is the grid resolution in the arrangement view, and then this 1/4 here is the resolution in the piano roll view.
I don't see the 1/.
Says 5. How are you setting that interval? My clips look very compressed when I drag them over. All right, so as you zoom in more and more, Ableton will give you more subdivisions of the grid. If you zoom way out, then it kind of shrinks everything together so you can see more of your overall track. But if you zoom in, to a certain level, it will start adding in more decimal points.
I'm ready to listen to this until
But if you get these 4 notes in place, like so, you should get this kind of sound. Right, and now we can swap out the sample being played here. So if I wanted to use this kick drum, I can just click it, drag it into the simpler. Well, those are actually pretty similar, but I don't know, let's take this house kick. And as I'm looping it, I can audition different samples.
Where did you drag it?
So I'm dragging the other one-shot samples into the simpler, which you can access by double-clicking on the MIDI track. So you alternate between double-clicking on the clip, double-clicking on the MIDI track. Cool. Okay, and Corey says, oh, okay, I see. So your MIDI clip, I think, is only 1 beat long. I need to see more. I need to see like the top. I need to just, Corey, if you want to just like take a screenshot of your whole screen, I could probably see it better. But I think you only have 1 beat of time in your MIDI clip, if I had to guess, but I can't really see.
If the resolution is 1/32, you can see
Oh yeah.
how wide it is on the grid.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you've got 7, 8. You've got 7/8 of a quarter note worth of clip. So you need. We want to have 1 measure. So from 1 whole number to the next whole number. That's how much time we want in our MIDI clip. So maybe you're starting to see why loops can speed up this process, at least, if you're, not as familiar with doing these kinds of manipulations. Okay, Corey's got it. What's up?
There's no music, or there's sounds that are playing from this for some reason.
No sound.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. You don't have a sample in it. Oh wait, sorry. Yeah, you don't have a sample in it. You have you loaded a sample here, but you didn't put it here. But if you take this and you drag it up here.
Oh.
Are you hearing it now?
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Okay, and one more thing, like if we look at this clip, you can use the magnifying glass to zoom in here, so you don't have quite as much vertical space. And by the way, all the same like copy paste, duplicate UI gestures work the same here. So I can select this one quarter note and hit Control D a few times, create a clip. Then I can select the whole clip and duplicate it a few times. So now I get like a 4 measures, 4 bars of 4 on the floor beats. Okay. And yeah, another thing you can do is you can use MIDI to change the volume or the velocity of your notes. So that's what these little bars down here are. Usually, with the kick drum, you want each one of them hitting at the same volume. So you just want them to all be the same. So I'm gonna turn them all up, but oops. You notice I made that change on just this clip and then I didn't change it here. So that's why you might want to have this like linked clip idea, because now I know it's hard to see, but there's like little tick marks here that indicate that I have a copy of an underlying clip that if I make changes to, it'll be reflected in all the other ones.
But can you enter a number for the velocity somewhere?
You can right click, or wait, let's see, let's see, how do you enter the number?
If I undo the B thing, then I can at least see a number, but I don't know if I can type it. You can type it.
Yeah, let's say 127. Yeah, you can, if you just have one note selected, you can change the number here. Yeah, 64. Ramp is nice if you you can select a few, and then you can start this one off at like 64, and then you get a nice increase. So you can program the dynamics into MIDI, and I'll show a little bit more of that in a second.
How do you link the duplicates again?
Let's see. If you, this is still a little bit of a mystery to me, but I think if you have here's my clip, it's 1 measure long. If I put my cursor up here in the top right corner, so I get this square bracket, then I can drag it out like this.
Right, and that will be linked.
Yeah, which you can.
And if you Control D, it doesn't link, right?
Let's see. This one, that Control D creates a unlinked copy.
Right.
And you'll note so even if, even these clips contain the change I made here, but not this one.
It seems like you need loop selected if you want to drag it out.
Maybe? I don't know.
Loop, in the clip menu.
In the clip menu?
Yeah, lower left where it's yellow.
Oh, okay. Hey, I learned something new. Thank you. Okay, so if you just want to add more empty space, you got to turn off this loop button down here, and then you can create more empty space in your clip. So, and you can also consolidate your MIDI clips, same as with audio. So you can select these 4, and then press Control J, and now I have a single MIDI clip that's got 4 bars of quarter notes. Cool.
What if you want to change which MIDI track you're doing the piano thing, the key press sampling on?
Yeah, so you would just, let's say, okay, well, let's add a new instrument. Let's add a clap. So if I want to trigger that, I would click the button here that arms this track for recording.
Okay. Got it.
And you can actually arm multiple tracks for recording, so I could send MIDI data to multiple tracks. You hold control and click. Usually you wouldn't do that, but there are use cases. So let's add a clap. So there should be a clap sample in the cymatics somewhere. Let me check the stream real quick. Okay. All right. So now one way we could do this. So MIDI information is agnostic to whatever instrument it is. It's just, it's an interface, music instrument digital interface. So we can take our MIDI notes from the kick and we can just copy them onto our track that has the clap on it. Oh wait, I need to add a clap. I hate all of these. All right, fine. We'll just use this one. It's a little loose for my taste, but okay. Anyway, so now I have now it's going to be like playing a kick and a clap at the same time, which we don't want, but just for illustration purposes, right? But usually in a house beat, you would put the clap on the 2 and the 4. So we can come in here, we can delete every other note.
But how did you add the sample to the MIDI track?
Right, to add the sample to a MIDI track, let's say I create a new, I'm just going to delete. Oh shit, I've been talking, or the mic's been off the whole time. Sorry people.
So this assumes like whenever we have a MIDI instrument, it always assumes that there's a key or like that there's a tonality to it. I guess everything has tonality. Like if you have MIDI, like you can do like C1, C2, C3. Like it's not like your MIDI. Like if you have like 20 different sounds that you're trying to fire off, like you have 20 different MIDI tracks.
Yeah, and each track would have, its own instrument on it. You can have multiple instruments on the same track though. So like, if I have my clap here, right? Maybe I want to layer another clap on it to create like a thicker sound. So I can select this simpler down here, and I can press Control G to group it. And now it's its own, there's an instrument rack that groups them together. This is kind of like, same way we grouped tracks together, we also group, you can group synths together.
Yeah.
So now if I want to have like, this tight clap, but layered with maybe, with this loose clap. Okay, so this is a nice example. I can drag that into here. And now, whenever I play one MIDI note, it'll go to both synths. And I get, I mean, this clap is honestly too loose for this to work well, but you can at least hear that I'm now playing both at the same time. So that's an easy way to get a nice layer going. Maybe you'd have one really like tight, crisp clap down the center, and then you have a more loose stereo spread clap as the other layer, and then it will sound kind of like nice and wide, but still punchy and focused.
Can you show one more time how you did the group with multiple instruments?
Yeah. Sorry. So I add loose clap down here, and I select my simpler and I press Control G, or alternately you can click on it and say group, and then you click this little hamburger menu icon to expand it, and then you can just drag another one-shot sample down here.
How did you make the 4-bar phrase to write the MIDI thing? Like,
what do you mean?
you were able to get a 4-bar phrase and then write MIDI downstairs, right?
like to add the clap here? I mean,
Yeah.
so you can copy this MIDI clip down to the next channel, if, you know, by selecting this MIDI clip, Control C to copy, and then putting your selector here and pasting it. You can also hold down Control and drag the MIDI clip down here. That's another nice UI gesture you can do. Click and drag. Doop. And then, like I said, I want to only have the clap hitting on the 2 and the 4, so I'm going to delete every other MIDI note. Sorry. Doop, 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 doop. And now I get this kind of sound. All right. All right, let's add another instrument. Oh, what's up?
Your first MIDI sound that's playing for the whole 4 measures of the sound?
Yeah, so I've got 4 measures, and I've got 4. Let me change this to quarter notes. So now you can maybe see the division a little bit better.
And the first clip is just playing the whole time?
It's playing, you know, it's triggering a kick sample on every quarter note, and then on my clap channel, I'm triggering a clap sample every other quarter note.
Right.
And this is your classic, we're getting close to that classic boots and cats sound. And it's worth pointing out too that like the clap, you know, it has a lot more high frequencies in it and mids, so it layers nicely with the kick, which is mostly lower frequencies, so they play nice together. Did I hear a question? Was there some? Okay. Let's add another element to get closer to the boots and cats. So we're going to add an open hi-hat. And we're going to add it on every other 8th note. So far we've just been dealing with quarter notes. Now we're going to go to 8th notes, which are twice as fast or half as long, you could say. So let's pull up a hat, sample, you know, an open hat. That's a pretty good one. So I'll add a new MIDI clip. I'll drag my hat sample in here. And then I will insert a new MIDI clip here. And now I want to add one on every other 8th note. So I'm going to change this grid resolution to 1/8. And I'll zoom in on C3. Oh, wait, that zoomed in. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me just insert a note, and then I can zoom in on it. Okay, there we go. All right, so we want every other 8th note. So I'm going to bring up the volume. The Simpler has a volume control on it, so you can bring it up there. And I'm going to bring down the volume of my clap channel a little bit. And I can duplicate this a few times. Cool. So this is a very common sort of pattern you see in EDM where you sort of tick-tock alternate between 2 different timbres, and it creates like a groove or a rhythm. I'm actually going to take off the loose clap here because it sounds weird. But and by the way, you can mute individual instruments in your instrument rack with this speaker icon here. Bring this back up to -9. Okay. Let's say rename this to open hat. And then last, and then we'll add some bass. We can do, we can use what are called closed hats, and these are like short, let's see. This would be like if you, oops, sorry, hat, or sorry, I should just call it a hi-hat. That's what this thing is called. So, looks like this. Open hat is when you you have the two cymbals of it are open, but if you close them and hit it, you get like a shorter, kind of tickier sound. Let's see, someone in general here. How do you drag the instrument to MIDI again? How do you drag the instrument? My MIDI doesn't have the empty drag instrument section. Okay, Michael, in your case, you have the clip selected. You need to double click on the MIDI track, so like over here. And then you should see it, as opposed to clicking on the clip. Right here. Cool, so let's get a closed hat. Sure, that's fine. So new MIDI track. Drag the hat in here. And then now we want to add, these are going to play on the 16th notes. So we want to put on every 16th note, except we don't want to play it on the same 16th note that we have the open hat playing. First of all, because that is unrealistic, right? You can't play the same cymbal both closed and open at the same time. And second, you don't want, like the closed hat and the open hat occupy similar space in the frequency spectrum, so they will be competing for headroom and space, and we want to keep a nice clean mix, so we don't need to have the closed hat and the open hat playing at the same time. So we can do, so we have our grid set to 1/16, and then we can do on the 1, 2, and 4 of the 16th notes. I'll just duplicate that.
What key shortcut do you press? Just Control D?
Yeah, Control D, same as, it's kind of the universal duplication command throughout Ableton. Then you get this kind of sound. And here, this is where we might want to play with the velocity a little bit, because it sounds very robotic to, play these hi-hats all at the same velocity. So maybe we want like the first one to be a bit louder than the others, because it's also on the beat, which is the most kind of important. It's like more there's more emphasis on it in the song than these sort of like in-between notes. The in-between notes don't need to be as loud, so we can make the first one in each group a little bit louder, and that'll create some dynamics. And for those who were here last week, we talked a little bit about adding groove to our warped audio clips. We can do the same thing with MIDI. So if I go into grooves here, and I get the swing 16ths, I can click and drag that onto my MIDI clip here, and now it will have a swing feel to it. Right, so instead of having like a straight kind of techno, robotic sound, or kind of like a driving ahead sort of sound, we get this more like groovy, jazzy kind of swung rhythm. This was pretty intense. I would probably, as you can see, I like the 66 swing the best. And by the way, one part of developing your own sound is to, reuse some of your favorite samples throughout. So anything you want to make very easily accessible, you can add it to your favorites. You just right-click it, and then you select favorites. You can do it with effects or instruments or samples or really anything you want, and then it goes in your favorites, and it becomes easier to find. What's up, Tyler?
Does the groove get added to all the different MIDI tracks? It looks like it happened for mine. The swing sequence got added to all of them. So regardless of whether it's like this or this. Oh, I see. This one's like it's this way. Yeah.
Did you have them all selected when you dragged the groove
I don't think
onto
so.
them?
Okay, well, maybe I did.
Okay. So we can duplicate this a few times. Or the closed hats, and we get, you know. All right. So let's. Okay, I think sounds like Michael got it. Also, did I add you to the EDM channel, Michael? Let me. All right. So now, let's to start turning this loop into kind of like, you know, an actual song. Let's take all these individual clips that are 4 measures long. Let's make it eight bars total, right? And we want to create kind of a sense of progression here. So I want to imagine this is at the beginning of the drop. I just want there to be the kick and the clap, right, at the same time. So I'm going to delete you know, all the hi-hats. So now, you know, we just have the kick and the clap to start. Right, and then, you know, that goes on for 4 measures, and then maybe I'm going to move these closed hats over here. Maybe at the halfway point, we bring in the open hat. And, you know, in EDM, we typically build our tracks up in groups of 8 bars. So, like, every 8 measures, you'll have some kind of, like, drum fill or turnaround or something to kind of keep the listener's interest, or sort of, I like to think of it as, like, you're discharging some kind of, like, laser cannon or something, and you have to reload at the end of every 8 measures, and then you discharge it again, because, you know, in the natural world, you can't just output an unlimited amount of energy. You need to reload or take a step back and before pushing it out there. And also, you know, think about giving the listener a little bit of a rest. You don't want to just constantly be blasting them with energy. So, you know, we can, you know, just start with the kick and the clap. And, you know, generally at the beginning of your drop, you want to have, you know, just a few instruments playing, maybe even just the kick and the bass. And then that gives you some room to grow throughout the course of the drop. So. Right. And now to create, you know, a really easy way to create a turnaround here is to just take out the kick drum for the last measure of our group of 8. So you can select it and you can delete it, or you can select it and press 0 and it disables it. So if you know, if there's something you want to keep in place and maybe reuse later, you can use 0 to keep it there. So now when I do, you know, right, so that creates this sense of anticipation, so that when I bring the kick back in, you know, at measure 13 in this case, it'll sound more, it'll sound, you know, like you're taking a breath, and then it'll bring the listener back into the groove. So, you know. Right, so that's how you start to get that, like, oh, the song is evolving and growing, and, you know, I'm bringing in more energy and more high end to you know, I'm repeating the same thing I just said, but now there's more energy to it, so it feels like the song is evolving. And then,
How often were you doing the hi-hats again? Every 8?
So here for these closed hats, actually I'll show another way we can progress the energy, but here I have them going on every 16th note except the one that the open hat is played on, so they don't collide with each other.
That's a lot of hi-hats. Is that 8?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great amount of it's a wonderful amount of hi-hats in my opinion. But, you know, maybe you want to only play, maybe you want to give yourself some room to grow there. So maybe you just play, you know, like a hi-hat pattern like this, and you know, later we'll add in this 4th one to again progress the energy further. So, you know, let me duplicate that, and here's yeah, let me duplicate that. So now when I drop, when the, you know, second half of the drop kicks in, you know, after this little, etc. And then, for the next, to add even more energy, now I will add in that, fourth hi-hat note. And this is just one of many, an infinite number of techniques for adding more energy to your beat as it goes along. Maybe you'd add like another layer to your snare, or sorry, to your clap. Like maybe you'd grab, a snare and not a dubstep snare, that's too much, but sure. This might sound kind of silly, but we can add it on every, sorry, I need to drag it into my MIDI. And I'll drag this down here. And so oh, thanks, Corey. Sorry about that. What's up, Tyler?
Which is in the instrument view. Maybe you already showed me how to do this, but see, this is like too small of a snare. I'm trying to condense it.
Yeah, where are you? Okay, so
Down here. See, it only goes from 1 to 1.11.
yeah, let's see. So your loop is set to like half of a beat. It's like 1/8 note. So let's turn this off. Let's give ourselves a little more room.
Okay, there we go. I see.
And now you can, well,
Oh, so you see it was
I guess there's a drag into this. Okay, and now you can, let's see, what are these? What instrument is this supposed to be?
This is symbol.
Symbol?
Or,
Oh, the open hat.
Yeah.
Okay, so this needs to be on every other 8th note, so this should be over here. Yeah, and then, so that's what you would want to do for the open 8s. All right, I heard my Discord going off. Oh, okay, cool. All right, that's fixed. That's my Boots and Cats doesn't sound as good as yours. I think Michael, by the way, Michael, can you post in the EDM Production 101 channel, not the general channel? Same with, Michael, I think it's because your open hat is on the 4th 16th note in each beat, and it needs to be on the 3rd 16th note. It should look like should look more like this. Well, but with an extra snare hit. Okay. Let's add in some bass too. I feel like the cymatics pack should have some bass. I know we haven't yet installed Vital or the kilohertz plugins, but I think we should be able to find a bass sample in here. Let's see. Let's see. I don't want a loop. I just want like a. None of these are good for my purposes here. All right. Sounds good, Michael. Dogs are barking at these synths. Okay, actually, let's take this time to install a synth. So, we're talking a lot about MIDI. We've talked about triggering drum samples with MIDI, but let's get some, let's expand our sonic palette a little bit. So let's go to vital.audio. This is a free VST that is similar to Serum, if you've heard of that, but it's similarly very powerful, and people make a lot of free presets for it. So
What is a VST?
a VST VST is a interface for writing plugins that can work in audio software like Ableton or Logic or anything. So if some piece of software implements the VST interface, you can use it in your DAW. So this simpler that we've been using is, well, it might not be a VST. I think it's using a special Ableton protocol, but third-party plugins are typically VSTs. On Mac, you can also get AAXs. That's another format, but VST works on all operating systems. So go to vital.audio. I put the link in the Discord. I also put it in the YouTube stream.
Does it matter if it's VST or VST3?
VST3 is a newer version of the interface, but it's basically the same. You generally want to use the VST3, but I think I already have an account. Yeah, and I already have Vital too. So download it for your operating system. I'm gonna use the bathroom while you all do that. And we'll use this to get our bass sound. For those installing Vital, there will be a standalone version of it, so you can play, with Vital outside of Ableton. That's not really what we want here. We want to use the VST version. So to do that, after you install it, You'll probably want to go to your settings, and then plugin. There's a section called plugins. You'll probably need to turn on the various options. That's like use VST3 plugin system folders, use the custom folder. I think for Mac there's also an option for like AAX. Just turn them all on, and then you'll click the rescan button, and if you installed it correctly, you should be able to see your Vital installation show up in the plugins section, I think. Yes, in the plugins section under Vital Audio. Yeah, did you get it? All right, cool. Is anyone having trouble getting Vital to show up in their plugins section? So first you need to make sure, go to your settings, options settings, plugins, and then make sure all the use VST plugin folders, turn on all those options, and then click rescan. And I think Mac might have a couple. Did you install Vital?
Yeah.
Option settings.
Well, let's
Oh,
go back.
just you just turn these on, please.
Plugins. Oh, audio unit, right? That's the Mac version. And we don't have a custom folder.
Oh, no, you don't have to do the custom.
Yes. Alright. Cool. So now you got the audio unit version. If you want to collaborate with someone else who uses Windows and you're on Mac, then don't use the audio unit version. But if you're not going to collab, then you can use the audio unit. But VST3 should work just as well. Let's see. I hear it blinking at me. Still not showing up in plugins. Okay, you clicked rescan. There's no settings under your options, says Corey. You go to options and there's no settings. What happens if you press control comma, Corey? Let's see. And Michael, what folder did you install Vital to? Because you may need to set a custom plugin folder for VST3s, and then you can turn that on, and you should see it there.
Like in jazz, like if you something it's like the second.
No, you're good, Pyle. You're good.
Okay. There are like so many Bible
Where it
things
should
now.
be in
Yeah, because you have the audio unit version and the VST3 and the VST, so you can just use the VST3.
Okay.
Control comma appends a little note thing on your cursor.
It's like displacing it a bit, like to the
All right,
point
so
where it's hard to see on the
Corey, you don't see.
and like it's only like 66 or something. Can you hear the difference?
Not at all. Oh, I see it.
I mean, if you go to like something like Swan 8s or something that's like more dramatic, and like there's a percentage factor. Yeah, but go up in fraction, like in the 70s or 60s maybe, and hear it. Yeah, let's try this. We just put it.
What's up?
Yeah, so I have I'm seeing VST3, right?
Yeah.
And then what do I do? Like,
Okay, and you click rescan. Let's also just go ahead and turn on the other
You still don't hear it.
system folders. Okay,
Put
rescan.
it on this, yeah.
All right, so now
Something that's like happening more frequently.
clear the search, and there it is.
oh, I was just screwing that up.
So yeah, if you have like a search thing typed in there, then it'll filter it out.
There should be some kind of UI.
Just log in.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Where are we? All right, cool. And yeah, one other thing you can try if you're still not seeing it, even after turning on all the audio unit and VST folders and rescanning is to close Ableton and open it up again.
I do see it here on this left side when I drag and drop it.
Right.
Swan 16 something. No, can you drag and drop it onto one of those MIDI ones? Yeah.
Okay, so add it.
Now you can see.
All right, for the folks that have Vital installed, let's add a new MIDI track. Actually, first thing I'm gonna hold down Alt and click on the little arrow icon here to collapse everything. I hope that works on Mac. Sorry, I'm a Windows guy.
But also like when I
Just to create some space, you know.
This is like your.
I'm holding Alt and clicking on the little arrow on one of the tracks.
That's weird.
All right, great.
It's coming out of
All right, so now I'm going to take Vital, and you can drag it into the empty space here, and it'll create a new MIDI track with Vital loaded up.
Can I try hitting yours?
And, you know, it's got a little keyboard here.
Oh.
Since you're on Mac, you can use either the one that has the 3 icon on it or the one that says AU. Either one's fine. And then you should have a preset. If you click on the init preset line up here at the top, it'll show you all the different presets that come with it. Yeah, you can click on and off here. And then let's use the slap house sound. Oh wait, no, that doesn't come with it, right? Or maybe it does. Do y'all have what do y'all have in the bass department? Do you have this slap house sound? Oops, sorry. Let me turn this down a little bit. Yeah, if you click on at the top where it said init preset, or you can, up here you can click on it. It'll show you all the different presets available.
I don't see anything.
You don't see anything, right?
Let's see. That's piano for the yucks.
Wait, really? Oh, that is odd. Okay.
Where'd you find that?
There's some activation feature. Browse results.
These are just more signs for us to work with.
Did you create an account and sign in or anything?
I did it in
Twist
the
those
back
knobs and
once
change the
then to
sound.
install this thing.
Okay.
But then when I went back, I just said use offline. When I
I wonder if that. Let's see. Okay, you're seeing a bunch of presets, so that's great. Did you click the work offline or did you sign in?
I signed in.
Signed in. Okay. You might have to sign in.
okay. How do I do that?
Want to be signed in?
Well, Anuj is not seeing any presets, and I think it's because he didn't sign in.
If it's downloaded, it should be downloaded.
You don't see any presets either? Oh, well, you do have presets. So that's good. What happens if you click bass here to filter out? Okay, so we've got some bass presets. That's good. That's fine. I think this might be a separate pack that I downloaded. Let's see. Can you Google like not seeing any presets in Vital? Let's see.
I don't see the bass sound.
You don't see any bass sounds here?
I see some, not the same ones you're seeing.
Okay.
I see you might see like bass sound.
Yeah, this Echo Soundworks thing I might have. Yeah, so you can download. Respaces. Like this. Or you can go to presetshare.com. Here's another place where you can get presets for Vital. I'll post that in the Discord.
Anyone can now. 'Cause these are just people uploading stuff. Yeah, just don't go check. It's just like so you can take presets.
Anuj, in your case too, if you just want to move on, you can use the initial preset. It's not the end of the world.
It's weird though. It's even not even opening up this time. It's even like sometimes I double click it.
I mean, you've got like here. Usually you would click it and drag it into the empty space down here. If you want to add a new track.
Yeah. Let's delete and
I don't know why it's pulling down the ski for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
now it showed up again.
But usually you just like just the arrow and see what happens. Click something.
Like the left and right arrow.
Or to that.
Okay.
Like the key.
Alright,
Just hold down.
yeah, maybe you need to.
I'll troubleshoot it later.
Okay, yeah, just for now, just use like.
The built-in one. Yeah.
So you can get it. What do you get? It's yours to hold down the key.
Alright. Alright, so we're gonna add a baseline and also set up side chaining, which is like one of the most fundamental techniques available to us. If there were a final exam and you didn't know how to side chain, you would fail. So let's let's set that up. So first, let's just do like a really simple baseline.
Wait, what did you do? You clicked this and then you did something to make it like a clip.
Oh, right. I selected this and then I used Control-Shift-M to add a clip.
Control-Shift-M.
Control-Shift-M.
Okay.
Or right-click and insert empty MIDI clip. So let's see. I want a really low note. So let's just make like the most stereotypical house bass line ever. Just do dun 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 dun. So I'll add, a low note here. I'm adding, this is an F0, and then I'll add an F1. Right? And by the way, if you can use the arrow keys to move your note around. And you can, if you hold down Shift and go up and down, you can move the note up an octave. So to make this bass line, I would duplicate and then hold down Shift and press up to go up an octave.
Shift and then what?
If I hold down Shift, then my up and down arrows move the note up an octave.
Jump an octave.
Cool.
Yeah. And I'll duplicate this. And this is actually quite loud, so I'll bring this down to like -9.
Can you repeat what notes you're wearing? Just like.
Yeah. F0 and F1. Sounds like bum.
How did you do it?
Your audio is off. Yeah, turn it on. Yeah, you have it set to but if you want exactly the same sound I'm using, click on the hamburger icon and say initialize preset. Yeah. What's up?
You get like all the menus here. Like, I opened to make this.
Did you open it in standalone mode or is it?
Within here, double click.
Okay. What menus are you talking about?
Or just like,
You mean like a preset?
yeah, presets.
If you click on edit preset, you should see a list there.
Or like space and then you select.
Oh yeah, you need to add like a name for it.
There's categories down here.
From the plugins
sound.
I haven't added a sound, but I just added this.
You can click on the keyboard down here,
Oh, I see. Oh, got it.
or since you have your
He's doing this too.
keyboard interface turned on, you could arm that track for recording. You can use your ASDF.
What is and then how do you bring it into the mixer?
Well, you have it in there, right?
Oh, that's great.
So you're good.
Okay, so now I just okay, cool. And then
What's up?
I guess you just on that.
Yeah, that's gonna be like that.
But you had it. How did you?
Those are 8 notes. So you can click here and change it to 1/8.
You have 1/16, so
Oh, okay. And you can also hover over the edge of a note and drag it out.
Gotcha. Okay. So you just clicked on there.
Yeah. Now we have it. Yeah. So if you have that, you can drag and make it longer. But there you go.
How did you jump the octave again?
What's up?
You jump the octave with like a shift or something?
Yeah, if you hold down Shift, so duplicate that note.
So I click this, how to duplicate it? I click this.
Control D. Okay, now hold down Shift and press up arrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
so go up and go down.
Yeah. What's up? Oh, you're in automation mode.
Yeah, I applied Vital to like some of these hi-hat, afterwards hat items on there.
Oh, like you added it onto the track. Well, first you're in automation mode, so click that pencil. Right. Oh, okay. Anyway, the letter A. It's sorry. It was this button. My bad. Okay. So now if you turn your keyboard on.
Right.
Yes. But you can delete this and then bring your hi-hat sample back onto there. All right. So, hey, let me check. Can you show how to select the bass again? Can you also show how to change the volume of the MIDI clip? Okay, so to select the bass, you come in here, you open Vital with the little wrench icon. You can click up here to change the preset. And then let's see, to change the volume of the MIDI note, you can't change the volume of the clip. You can change the velocities of the notes down here. If you open up the clip, you can change the velocities of the individual notes. But also, not all synths are velocity sensitive. So by default, the initial preset is not velocity sensitive. So that won't really do anything here. But you can change, you can change the track volume with this slider over here if you need to make it louder or quieter. You can also change the volume of Vital itself up here. That's this slider. All right, so right now the bass and the kick are playing at the same time, and these are both instruments that are very low frequency focused, and we really want the bass to duck, to get out of the way when the kick comes in, because we want to leave a nice pocket for the kick, so so that we get a nice thump in our chest on the dance floor. And so the typical way of doing this is through side chaining, and there's a bunch of different ways to do that, but the classic way is we will put a compressor effect on our bass, and we will send the kick as an input signal to the compressor. So let me show y'all how to set that up. So on our Vital track, we're gonna Control F, and we're gonna search for compressor. It's a, why is nothing showing? Oh, because I spelled compressor wrong. Okay. So you get your compressor here, and you're gonna click and drag it to where it's right next to Vital. It says drop audio effects here. Compressor is an audio effect. So it should look like this. And then we need to expand the controls a little bit. There's this little triangle button here, so we're going to click on that. And now we get, by the way, y'all's compressor might look slightly different if you're on Ableton 11, but you're going to turn on this external button. Okay, great. And then your source, so your source is going to be, you're going to set it to your channel that's called kick. I assume y'all renamed your kick drum channel to say, to be called kick. And now once you've done that, now your kick is triggering your compressor. So, before you do that, it looks like this. You can see this waveform here. That's what the bass is doing. As soon as I turn on the side chain, now you'll see we're getting the audio from the kick, and it is triggering the compressor.
How did you turn it on?
Oh yeah, let me explain what a compressor is. A compressor takes an audio signal, and when that audio signal, the volume of it exceeds a threshold, then it starts to reduce the volume of the signal. So it basically compresses the dynamic range of the signal so it doesn't have as much changes in its volume. It's like a more compact, tighter signal. And usually in EDM, you really heavily compress a lot of the sounds, so you maximize the amount of volume that they have. Whereas in classical music, you want to preserve the dynamics, so you wouldn't want to use a compressor. This effect originated in the broadcast era when you needed to fit a signal into a limited range allowed by the broadcasting medium. Yeah. Yeah. Like radio songs tend to sound less dynamic than if you just play back the original. What's up, Val?
Okay, my compressor, like down at the bottom, does not look like yours. Oh, hit the triangle. Oh, on the left hand side, there's a triangle.
Yeah, you need that triangle to. Oh, you have a multi-band compressor. We don't want that. We just want compressor.
So
You Command F.
yeah.
And then you don't want user library selected. Select.
Vital, right?
No. You want like audio. So it should be under the dynamics.
There it is.
Yeah.
This is the
Mm-hmm. And then delete that. And then you more just
okay, cool.
Yep. What's up?
So first, how do I know how to control the vital instrument that is playing on this track?
Yeah, it's here. If you want to edit it, you click here. Now you can edit that. Yep. And then
So you just click onto this clip, basically, or
yes, you click on you double click on the track and then you click on the little wrench icon.
right, and then okay, that makes
So now you can edit vital.
And then from here, how do I go back to the compressor?
So you've got the compressor
Oh,
button
that's
here.
and then
You should, I think if you click here, you can see different viewpoints. You want this one.
right.
And then as soon as we turn on external here, now we're bringing in the kick.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'll just set up the compressor again so y'all can see that flow. Else let me check the live stream. Okay. So Control F, compressor, drag it next to vital, triangle icon to open up the extra menu, and then before I turn on the side chaining, it looks like this, and then after, when I click external and I say the input is the kick, it looks like this. And then right now nothing's actually happening because you see this blue bar at the top. That's the threshold. So the signal is not crossing the threshold whatsoever. So we need to you can either bring the threshold down this way, or you can grab the bar and bring it down this way. But we basically want to bring it down so it's below where the kick drum is hitting. Oops, sorry, I'm gonna loop this so we can dial in our sound. Right, and I can make the effect really extreme. So right now the compressor doesn't even have enough time to recover before the next kick drum hit comes in. So you want to adjust this threshold to taste. But now, and here's what it sounds like without it, just so you can get an A/B comparison. So we get a little bit more of a dynamic, we call this pumping, and it's like a defining sound of EDM. I think Daft Punk might have pioneered this particular sound, but it both accomplishes a technical goal of getting the bass and the kick to play nice, and it also gives us this rhythmic pumping sound that is iconic for EDM. You can also play with like some of these other parameters, like the release. If you have a really long release, it'll take longer for the compressor to recover. Maybe that's useful when there's fewer kick drum hits in a given amount of time, or maybe you need like a really short release if you want it to recover real fast. So.
Copy something multiple times like duplicate, then if you change something, all of those other guys change as well?
I think you're talking about if you have a clip and it's set to loop and then you drag it out, then you can change.
No, can I do the following, which is I'll take one and put it somewhere else, maybe not immediately following, and then all the changes that I make here should automatically happen with the other copies?
I'm not sure if that's possible.
Do you understand the question?
I think so. It'd be like if instead of just dragging this out, right, like I'm able to cut here and then put this over here.
Yeah.
I don't think it stays linked. No, it looks like it doesn't.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there could be a way to do it.
Is there a way to like bunch? You said there is a way to. Oh, but
Consolidate?
no, it was to like combine things into one thing, not like make copies of. Yeah. That's all.
Okay, I might not quite understand the question.
No, I think I was asking exactly the question, but maybe I don't know if it's possible in the word. Maybe it's not.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if I just have something in the other bar, like far away, like in some C section, and I mess with it in the A section, I should be able to like add a beat here, and that beat gets copied to some guy down the line, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible. I would have to look it up. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can have linked clips that are also very far apart. It might be possible. I'm not sure. Cool. So like if we were trying to make a track out of this, maybe I would just start the drop off with the kick and the bass, and then I would like add the clap in. Sorry, I'm gonna render all these out. And then, in the, let's see, this is the closed hat. This is the like, I'm just gonna take this extra snare out for a second, but then maybe I would, in the second half of the drop, I would bring in the open hat, and then in the second half of the, in the last quarter of the drop, I would bring in the closed hats, and let's see, maybe in the bass line, when the second part of the drop happens, I might do like, instead of it just being da 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 da, I'll do like dun da da dun da da dun da da dun da dun. So I can change this to 16th notes. Or let's say I want to do this, and then for the last part, maybe I'd want to like do da 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 da. So it's like I'm constantly, adding more energy and variation into the sound as the drop progresses. And there would also be some kind of lead element like a vocal or a funny sample or something. But just for quick illustrative purposes, I also know we're about 8 minutes over, but you'll be able to hear what this sounds like at least. Or not if I loop it. Okay. Pretty boring, but get the bass line pickup. Okay, enough of that. But you see how, we're gradually adding in more elements over time. We're adding more motion into the drop over time, by adding in these hi-hats that kind of move quickly. We're creating this gap here that creates a sense of anticipation before we then launch the listener back into our main groove, but now with more energy into it. And now the structure of our song is taking shape, and we're like adding in more energy over time. So there's some tutorial videos to go along with this that will, that have stuff we didn't quite get to. I know this interface is a lot to kind of learn, but this will give you all an opportunity to continue playing around with it. So I'll send, the homework is basically going to be to create your own drop of 16 to 32 bars using some of the techniques I demonstrated here, along with what's in the tutorial I'll send out. The tutorial has both like a house and a trap variation in case you want to do some more bass music type of stuff. But maybe this is also hopefully this is also illustrating a little bit why loops can be so valuable in terms of drastically speeding up your workflow. But this allows you to customize everything, get the specific sound that you want, and with the specific samples that you want. So it offers a lot more power and flexibility, but you do have to do more precision detail work here. But now y'all know how to use MIDI to trigger sounds. You have a new synth to play around with. I dropped some links for where you can find some more presets for Vital. And yeah, be on the lookout for my recap email. And feel free to post questions in the Discord, email me questions. I try to be as responsive as possible. And I want y'all all to be able to make bangers by the end of this. So yeah. Thanks for a great session too. What's that?
We're having the pickup session tomorrow, just because it's the first session, so some of the stuff is lost.
Yeah. Let me send you the. Well, you'll have the recording of the previous of the first session. Parsley, calm down. What's a time that would work for you on Thursday?
Actually, if I was watching the recording, so I can probably just watch that, and if I get stuck, I'll just message you.
Okay.
I don't want to be take extra time.
Gotcha.
If I get stuck, I'll just message you.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Firstly, clam down. And apologies to the folks on the live stream for muting myself. All right.
Some of the presets on Vital, if you just hold down a key, it has a really interesting evolving sound.
Oh yeah.
Is there any way to record that evolving sound that goes into the Gorgle?
Go ahead. Nice.
But if I want to get that full evolution.
Well, you could make one long help.
Okay. So we're going to.
Yeah.
Command M.
and shift
Yeah.
one.
Yes. That's,
And then how would I do the
let's see. What was that note that you? Okay, you can close that. Scroll down here so you can see. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, switch to your pencil tool. What's the?
Yeah, maybe I was thinking about that.
Yeah. Okay. Click. Yeah, click there.
Oh, and then just drag it.
Yeah, click and drag it out. No. You need to hover. Yep. Click it, and then hover over the edge, and then drag down. There you go.